Hello. So I got a lot of help here from Curtis Lindquist, who runs, he did a presentation here before on the European exchanges. So a lot of the data there comes from there, but I'll get back to that later. So first, a short introduction to BitTorrent, if you don't know. It's a PGP protocol for clients. So you download a file. It contains a text string. You upload it to a tracker, and you get the IP address of all other clients that have done the same thing. And then the clients connect to each other, so you get like a swarm or whatever terminology you want to use. And also the clients will continue communicating even if the tracker is no longer available. So when the tracker actually went down, it took quite a while for the traffic to diminish. You didn't get any new clients joining, but you still had the old clients doing the peer-to-peer. So the Thepiratebay is run by a handful of individuals, 2 or 3 people that do most of the work. The actual website and tracker uses less than 100 megabits. And the statistics we've seen is that 2 million concurrent users that's actually talking to the tracker. 30% of the tracker's torrents are not from actually the Thepiratebay, but actually other sites using the Thepiratebay tracker. And the statistics code that was included in the tracker indicates that client traffic peer-to-peer is close to 100 gigabits per second. That figure is not, we can't really verify that, but from the graphs we'll see later, I'd say it's fairly close to the truth. And to my knowledge, this is the largest BitTorrent site and tracker in the world, at least up until it was taken down by the police. So this is what it looked like, I think, a year ago. I couldn't find any of the mostly recent figures. I think they swapped out servers a bit more, but this was what it looked like. Half a rack, a couple of servers, that's it. So you get a pretty good amplification factor here, basically. So you get a website containing half a rack and 100 gigs of traffic. On the stats, this is definitely not an exact science. We're trying to look at a lot of traffic and seeing changes in the 10, 20, premium, less percent. And there are, of course, outages and so on at the same time. So the police went in and took down the site around midday on European time on the 31st of May. And the data collected is from EuroIX members. Some didn't see any difference in traffic at all. And NetNode is probably the one where you see the biggest percentage drop. So here you see on Wednesday, you see the week before, we peak out around 45 gigs per second on the public exchange. And then it looks like around midday, the growth just cuts, and we're hanging around 30, 35 gigs. So I would say that we dropped 10 gig here fairly quickly. And just in Stockholm, you see here it flattens out a lot. I'll come back. I'll have a fresher graph where you can see where it turned out longer into the future. So this is actually, and you can see to the far right here, the stats server was /dotted, so we lost an hour of stats there. You'll see that later on the graphs as well. So on links in London, you can see a level drop, perhaps 5 gigs. It's not statistically certain, but I'd say so. And on AM6 in Amsterdam, I would say about 10 gigs of traffic was dropped. You can compare it. Also, I posted some links to this on the NANOG list like a couple of days ago, so you can watch there as well. Here we had the outage I was talking about before. That's a drop before noon, and you can see, perhaps I would say, a couple of gigs here is lost. And on 5.6, you see the equivalent drop that we saw in Stockholm is much larger than the rest of the European exchanges. And same thing in Norway on the NIX. It's not as much, but still there. So none of this includes private peering or anything like that, but a lot percentage of traffic in Europe is done via the exchanges, so it should be significant. And here I would say that, yes, around noon there you saw a slight drop in Brussels, but not so much. And I received this just before the talk. This is BitTorrent traffic from a NetFlow export from a big US ISP, and you can see that a significant part of the BitTorrent traffic anyway was probably handled by the Pirate Bay. I was told that this is a fairly low percentage of the total traffic, so you probably couldn't see this on the traffic graphs. And these guys are very entrepreneurial, so they got the whole thing back up in Amsterdam 72 hours after the raid. They got a lot of help from a lot of people, it seems, that really liked the site. And a week after, you see on Wednesday here to the far left, you see these where it was slash dotted, and you see on Tuesday we peaked out around the 45 gigs, and then it all went down to 30, and then it started to grow back up again on Saturday and Sunday when the site was back up. And we'll see. It will be very interesting to see if traffic comes back totally. Now we go into the summer season, and usually we get less traffic then, so we'll see what happens. And one ISP thing here is that this was hosted by a small ISP that rented a couple of racks in a couple of locations. The police came in and took all the equipment, including every customer equipment. So this caused a lot of collateral damage in Sweden. This has caused a lot of controversy, and so the hosting company or another company that has a surveillance camera posted this on YouTube, so you can see the police walking around there, and so on. It's been a lot of talks about delegations going to the White House or visiting with the U.S. authorities and getting a lot of pressure from there to actually do something about this. The Pirate Bay has been up for more than 2 years, and they keep saying that they're not doing anything illegal because they don't host any of the content. But this will be quite interesting. I know a lot of the US-based trackers have been taken down from lawsuits and so on. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
You said the Pirate Bay is but one of these types of sites. Do people just typically go to one, or why wouldn't the other locations take up some of the slack?
The Pirate Bay grew a lot after some of the larger US ones was taken down, and the Pirate Bay is completely open. You don't have to register or anything. You just search for whatever you want, download the torrent, and start sharing. Probably the traffic will move. It will just be a matter of days or weeks before the traffic get back. I think I think this was very well run. You know, crafted programmers, scalable. It's not easy to make a huge BitTorrent tracker because the protocol isn't really meant to have one big tracker. So they actually had 4 tracker machines and tried to load share and everything. It's not easy. Yes.
Roland Dobbins, Cisco. Pirate Bay are saying that they're back up now in Russia and a couple of other Eastern European countries. Have you had a chance to look at any of this data since they announced that they had the tracker back up and running?
The Pirate Bay saying that they're up in Russia? Okay, I didn't know that. I was actually talking to the guys that run it. I've actually met them, so I thought they were up in Amsterdam. That's what I've been told. Okay, yeah, I know some reports were that they were going into Russia and Eastern Europe, but I've been told it is in Amsterdam. They're trying to figure out a more permanent solution, probably. Okay, thank you.